Thanks, Abby. Claire smiled widely, knowing that her sister was just being nice. Let's go. She put the pistol away and grabbed Hannah's free hand. As Hannah was being dragged by her friend, she too had put away her weapon. Grinning at being able to check out the dangerous rock lizard up close. The adventurers in the cart remained inside, merely moving to the right side of the vehicle to get a better view. That thing looks wicked dangerous, Chris commented as he looked at the monster. I'm glad we didn't encounter more of them. Jimmy looked at Chris and shook his head. We still have a way before we reach the mines. There's still a chance that those things could attack us before we reach our destination, and when we leave. Looking at Jim, Chris raised an eyebrow. If we get rid of them on the way there, then how can we encounter them on the way back? It's not like the new rock lizards can't wait after we kill the ones on the way there, Mindy commented. The worker nodded her head, in agreement with Mindy's words. It's a good practice to assume that there are new ones even after you cleared an area. The only way you could be sure would be to clear all the rocks and boulders. Why don't we do that? Lucas asked, looking at both Carl and Todd, his former co-workers at the gas station. Chris nodded at Lucas, agreeing with the strategy. Mindy raised a hand to her forehead, rubbing her temples in frustration. Do you realize how inefficient that would be? Lucas and Chris turned to Mindy, confused. That may work away from the mountain, but the closer you get, rocks and boulders are likely constantly breaking off from that massive thing. Mindy pointed at the mountain. Don't you remember how mountains are made? They're constantly being pushed up and shifting about. And that doesn't even count the walls of the mountain as we navigate our way through it. Are you going to clear out the entire mountain? But isn't this a simulation, not real life? Lucas looked at Chris. Chris nodded in agreement. Raising a finger, Jimmy said, But you forgot how realistic this simulation is. I get the feeling that Star and Moon planned out this place to consider tectonic plates. I don't know about plates or whatever, but it's correct to think of the mountain as a breathing and living being. The worker raised an eyebrow at their words, but went along with their explanation. With the cart not moving and the horses only making occasional noises, it was easy for Claire to listen in on a group of adventurers talking about the dangers in the mountain. They likely forgot that the people in the simulation don't think they're in something created by people. The worker believes that the world around them is real. She thought this idea as she stared at the corpse of the monster. The rock lizard was covered in varying sizes of rocks, while the skin was a similar gray color. Compared to other monsters she'd seen, the body was relatively flat and angular. What struck out was how Claire couldn't see a mouth. Both Cammy and Don were holding their weapons and securing the area. Occasionally, they'd fire their weapons at a group of rocks to make sure that it wasn't a lizard. Bill bent down next to the monster, his hands touching the skin and body. I can see why it's so hard to spot this thing, Bill remarked after briefly studying it. Even though I'm not specialized in this field, it's obvious that it developed to have an advantage in such rocky areas. Where's the mouth? Hannah asked, as though thinking the same thing as Claire. Bill pursed his lips, as though trying to figure that out himself. That's a good question. I'm not even seeing eyes on this thing. There may be something that's light sensitive to detect when something gets close, or even like what snakes have to sense heat. The closer Claire got to the monster, her hands unconsciously moved to touch a pistol. It was as though the weapon was a comfort to her.